Alright, hey guys, how's everybody doing? I see a couple people already watching. Inshoma, what's happening, man? And Lewis the Hedgehog. Sorry, I was actually almost on time today. Um, Hang on one second, folks. Looks like there's something a little weird going on with my connection. Let me just verify I'm all plugged in. There we go. Alright, should be good now. Um, let's see. Should be good now, I hope. Yeah, sorry about that. I was just about to begin, and then, some weird stuff happened to my computer. I don't know. Like, my video driver crashed or some shit. Both my monitors died, and I had to, like, restart and all of this stuff, so... but it looks like I should be going here. It says my status is poor? I don't know what's going on. You know, guys, give me 1 second. Let me just go check something real fast. I'll be right back. So, let's see what's happening here. Maybe our connection is just slow today for some reason. I don't know why. Stay! Cat! No, get out of here. It's saying I have a poor stream health, but yeah, I don't know why. Let me do a speed test real fast. So hey, shit is hitting the fan out there, huh? That's yeah, I'm kind of glued to the news here. You know, glued to Twitter, I guess. And holy fucking shit. I mean, I'm kind of at a loss for words, I guess is a good way to say it. I am very flabbergasted, I guess. Okay, that's why my still, I should still be getting a good stream here. I'm checking my speed here, and it's a little bit slower than usual. But I still should be having a decent enough stream. Okay, well, now it's saying it's in excellent condition. Alright, well, anyway, hey, if the stream gets jacked up... Holy shit, Shan! Holy crap! Shan Yen, hey, what's up? Oh my god, how you doing, man? Welcome for joining, thank you for joining. And, wow, I don't know if you just stumbled on this or what, but anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, obviously. I'm sure you've all seen what's going on out in the world right now with this fucking Maga insurrection in, you know, Washington now. I can't say that I'm surprised that it happened. Not really. I'm not surprised. Because for the past, for the past year, right, the Republicans and Trump have been screaming and crying about how the election's going to be rigged and all of this other crap, right? And then, shit, hopefully the stream comes back. I don't know what's going on with my stream. If it's, like, really choppy or whatnot, let me know in the comments there if you can't see anything. It says that I have, like, good enough. It looks a little choppy, I'm looking at it, but it says I've got, like, my connection is looking good, so I don't know why it would be so funky, but anyway, hopefully it'll clear up. But yeah, so for the last, year, they've been screaming and crying and spreading conspiracy theories, saying it's going to be rigged and all this other crap, right? Because they pretty much knew they were going to lose, and then since the election, they've gone into overdrive, and we've got all of these ridiculous conspiracy theories, and, Rudy Giuliani with shit dripping down his face, and then, these other crazy, what's her name, crazy lawyer lady. And it's just been this shit show for the last 3 months. And what surprises me is that it hasn't gotten violent sooner. You know what I mean? Audio is really quiet. Oh, okay, let me see if I can fix that. Let me turn up How about now? Okay, yeah, okay. You know, my audio was at like half. All right, so I turned the audio up. Let me know if that's too loud. Um, yeah, like I'm actually surprised myself that there hasn't been, you know, um, this hasn't happened sooner. You know what I mean? I'm surprised. Like I actually thought that there would be violence today, right? Because this is what I'm seeing online. You know, when I go to like Reddit and I go to, you know, the seedier parts of Reddit and the crappy parts of Twitter, stuff like that. You know, I kind of hang out in those places because I like to argue with conservatives. You know, that's like I've said before, a hobby of mine. I like to go and argue with people. Right? It keeps you sharp. Okay, it's better now. Fantastic. Okay. Um, and I'm actually surprised that it hasn't escalated sooner. I'm surprised. Like I thought, you know, myself, if there was going to be violence today, I thought it would come in the form of a mass shooting. You know, 2 weeks ago in D.C. we had you know, Proud Boys and stuff in protests about 2 weeks ago, and a couple of people got stabbed. You know, 2 weeks ago there was also a shooting in Portland. So it's not like we've never seen violence from these types of people before. What we haven't seen though is riots in this scale. You know, specifically centered on a government building like this. Usually when there's riots like this, it'll be out in the streets and they'll just trash stuff. You know what I mean? But admittedly, we haven't really been seeing riots like that from the right wing over this summer. You know, there's been lots of BLM protests and that kind of thing that have degenerated into riots, and a number of those are actually the fault of agent provocateurs and so on. No, come on. Okay, there we go. All right. Looked like it was getting funky for a second there. You know, but this time it seems like something's different this time. This isn't just a normal, you know, rally. You know, it wasn't just a normal sort of riot, you know, protest that turns into a riot. This time it was much more politically oriented, much more focused, you know, focused on that capital. And this is specifically what they wanted to do. The aim of this was to disrupt that, you know, the Senate business where they you know, certify the state electors. Basically, that's what was going on today. You know, the Congress was getting the certified election results and then, you know, passing them. And this particular action, what it's for is that if there is, say for example, you know, a congressman that can, you know, this is their time to object. So let's say that there actually was proven voter fraud in one of these states, then they could object to it. And that's what this particular day was for, you know. Mike Pence's role in this is really much more ceremonial. You know, there's a big conspiracy going around from the Maga people that Mike Pence could, you know, if he wanted to, refuse to open the envelopes or something like that. You know, or he could just like count the ones that he wanted to from the states he wanted to, that kind of thing. That was never going to happen. That's fantasy. His role in what they're doing today is basically just opening the envelopes and presiding over it. You know, so that's really what this whole like, you know, MAGA riot thing was all about, was stopping that from happening, because the conspiracy theories that are out there are saying that if they don't do this, then, you know, Trump remains president, right? And the difference here is that the ire is not aimed specifically at Democrats this time. You know, it's very much also against who they consider as traitors in the GOP, right? So Mike Pence, for example, you know, had to be evacuated. The vice president had to be evacuated from the Capitol, right? Because basically people were looking for him. You know, the guys that broke into the fucking Capitol were looking for Mike Pence. They were looking for him. They were looking for Mitch McConnell, right? Because Mitch McConnell is not going along with the delusion that Donald Trump will remain in office after the 20th, right? He's not going on with it. He actually is trying to get his people to stop all of this nonsense for his part. You know, Mitch McConnell's a piece of shit. Okay, let's keep that in mind. He's a complete piece of garbage, right? But even he is like, hey, this shit is going too far, and that's why they went after him. Pentazoid, hey, thank you for joining, Pentazoid. So hey guys, I will address any comments that you make in the chat towards the end of the stream. So go ahead, if there's anything specifically you want me to talk about, go ahead and just type it in the chat. So that's basically what's going on, and yeah, you're right, Pentazoid. They didn't actually stop anything. We'll come to that a little later, but it's still continuing as of now. From what I understand, the vote is still happening. It's not even really a vote, really. It's more of just, they open the votes, and then does anyone object, right? And this is what happens in this particular process. Mike Pence comes, he opens the ballot, right? They call for objections, and if anybody objects, then they get 2 hours to debate it, and then both houses of Congress have to vote and decide whether or not those electors will be ignored, right? Well, that's the reason, this never would have happened anyway, because, the Democrats control the House, so they would never get a majority in the House, so this entire fucking thing is just theater. It's all there, and that's the really shitty thing about this, right? All of this, what they're doing is pure theater. They all know it, right? So right now there's 6 senators who are leading the objections, right? 6 of them. And there were going to be more, and it looks like a couple of the Republican senators that were going to go along with this dog and pony show kind of chickened out after all this shit went down. So, for example, Kelly Loeffler from Georgia, who just lost her election, by the way, right? She was going to, throw her hat in with these guys, and she has backed out, and now she's no longer objecting. So some of these people have been kowtowed because the shit kind of hit the fan, and it's sort of like, they created a monster, right? And now they can't control it anymore. And now this monster that they've been using for the last 3 months since the election in order to fundraise, that's basically what they've been doing with all this Stop the Steal shit, right? Now that they've been, grifting from this monster for the last 2 months, now it's kind of come for them. It's turning against him. It's turning against the GOP even. So, there were actually a thing that I saw here, reports of bombs at the RNC, for crying out loud, Sorry, I'm drinking not your father's root beer. This shit is the bomb. If you ever get a chance to pick it up, it's like alcoholic root beer. It's so fucking good. Anyway. Apparently there were pipe bombs. They called them IEDs, right? The same shit. That's funny. That's the same term. Everybody knows what an IED is now because that's the term that they use for roadside bombs in Iraq, right? But apparently this is what the MAGA people are bringing to the Capitol. They found a couple of bombs. They found one at the RNC and one at the Library of Congress. And one at the DNC. So it's like, yeah, apparently there were bombs. There's a photo of a guy, one of the guys who broke in there, had plastic zip ties. So it's like, okay, so what are they going to do there? Are they going to take fucking hostages? So that's some crazy fucking shit. There was a picture of one of the dudes, I saved it, I should have brought it, but I kind of ran out of time. One of the guys that broke into the fucking Capitol, right, had one of the guys is a live streamer named Baked Alaska, who is basically a fucking Nazi. If you don't know who Baked Alaska is, he's like an alt-right kind of streaming kind of guy who broke in. He broke into the Capitol and he live streamed it. Live streamed himself breaking in, live streamed himself running, smashing, kind of butting into one of the offices and screaming and stuff like that. There's actually a video of that. Let me go ahead and show this because I can show this because this is on Twitter. So let me kind of open that up. Let me turn on my monitor here. Hey, pause. Thank you. Let's see. Let me turn on my left monitor. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, this here is Baked Alaska. This is him getting kicked out of the, wait, is this the right one? Let me just make sure this is the right one. Yeah, here it is. This is Baked Alaska getting kicked out of the Capitol, and he's live streaming this shit to his audience while all of this is happening. Okay, so let me go ahead and just play this. Turn up that volume. All right, can you hear that? Yeah. And I got my headphones over here, so I can hear what's going on.
Dude, don't. I'm going. Stop shoving me. No, you got a fucking problem. You're a fucking oath breaker, you piece of shit. Fuck you.
Let me just plug
Fuck
that
you.
in.
Fuck you. You piece of shit. You broke your oath to the Constitution. Fuck you. Fucking shoving me and shit for no reason. What the fuck? These fucking oath.
Well, anyway. So, is this thing just repeating itself? It is, isn't it? Okay, enough of that. Or wait, did it actually... Did it already go through once? I think it did, didn't it? That's alright. Well, let's watch the rest of this and then we'll turn it off.
You piece of shit! You broke your oath to the Constitution!
Wow.
Fuck you! Fucking shoving me and shit for no reason? What the fuck?
Look at that shit. No masks, by the way. Okay, let's get rid of that. That's, I like how nobody was wearing a mask in there. You know? They're all gonna catch COVID and die. Too bad, so sad. So... Yeah, big fucking... And, you know, in that video, I don't know if you heard that. So that guy is like a fucking alt-right guy. You know. And you heard him fucking like crying there. You know, talking about, hey, don't push me. You're not allowed to push me. Oh, you pushed me for no reason. Yeah, no fucking reason, okay. I guess breaking into the fucking Capitol building is not a reason. Excuse me. Unfucking believable. The balls on this piece of shit. I don't know, man. It kind of blows me away. Just the shit that this would even, like, happen. So apparently, you know, the police here were completely caught off guard. Had no, you know, which is bullshit because they knew they were coming, right? That's the thing, okay? This has been, you know, for like weeks now. This has been sort of advertised, you know, to the MAGA crowd, to the alt-right people, right? So they knew that this shit was happening, okay? And it's kind of amazing to go. Right. So this is the, this is what it looked like when there was a BLM protest. Shit, there it goes. Is the stream back again? Okay, it looked like it was funky again. Anyway. Wrong one. This is what it looked like when there was a fucking, like, BLM protest on the steps of the Capitol. You see that shit? See how there's, like, 3 rows of cops armed to the teeth with helmets, camouflage, flat jackets, all that shit, right? You know, how come, you know, so it's like, yeah, we know that they can, like, actually prepare when they want to, right? If they wanted to, they could have been ready for this shit. They weren't ready. So obviously, it's like, why? Why did they not prepare for this eventuality? I mean, did they think that, you know, what? Because they're Trump supporters? Did they think that Trump supporters aren't going to riot? You know, do they think it's because they're right-wingers? I mean, I'm not the only one to notice that the cops and the establishment always seem to go easy on right-wing protesters. They always let them get away with stuff, right? So is that what they thought? Did they think that it just wasn't going to escalate? You know? Did they actually have orders from the president to not engage these people? I mean, these are all questions that we need to ask. Apparently, early, you know, yesterday, Nancy Pelosi requested that the National Guard be deployed, and Donald Trump refused, you know, yesterday, because apparently there was, you know, in case this happened, right? And apparently because, you know, in D.C., that's the president, right? So the president has control over the National Guard in D.C. because D.C. is not a state, right? It's like federal, you know, jurisdiction. And so Donald Trump didn't want to deploy the National Guard. So as all of this shit was going down, there's no National Guard anywhere, right? As thousands and thousands of fucking armed, angry, right-wing, fucking insane people are descending on the Capitol, right? National Guard isn't there. And so now they are that, they did get deployed, and apparently this is what, the news is saying, is that it was Mike Pence that actually ordered that to happen because Donald Trump wouldn't do it, right? Which then that by itself is enough, in my opinion, to remove him from office, all right? Because that's basically, a backdoor endorsement of these people. Why didn't he want to call the National Guard on him? Because they're fucking like doing this for him. That's why. Right? I mean, that's the cynical part of me says that, because that's the result. The result is he's the one that's benefiting from it. So why should he stop it? I mean, I don't know if you saw like that video that he put out where he's just essentially egging them on and all, in everything but like name there, right? I tried to find a copy of the video and I couldn't. Everybody took it down, right? Apparently also, Twitter has banned Donald Trump for 12 hours minimum because he's tweeting shit that's like, he's tweeting stuff that's fucking like, encouraging this shit, right? Which is ridiculous. In fact, you know what? I'm going to look that up. Let's look up Twitter removes, let's see, Twitter deletes Trump tweets. I bet you we can find it. There we go. No, that's not the right one. There is somewhere in here. Let's see if I can find the actual tweets themselves. Is that it? Nope. That's not it. But they were basically just him, like, kind of egging this shit on. See, all this would really take is just Donald Trump kind of, like, going on TV and saying, hey, assholes, right? What the fuck are you doing? There we go. Donald Trump locks out. All right. Locked out of Twitter for 12 hours. Here it is. Let's see. Can I make that bigger? Of course I can't make it bigger. All right, so that's going to force me to save it to my fucking pictures and then open it that way, isn't it? Of course it is. Fuck you, computer. Anyway, but let me just go into my pictures and then Trump deleted tweets. There we go. Make that bigger. Open up, please. And turn on my monitor again. Wrong one. These are the deleted tweets from Donald Trump, right? Which is this now these two here. I mean, let's just kind of look at what he says here. All right, let's read. Here we go. These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever. Which is like, I could see why they deleted this shit. And I could see why they banned him. Because look at that. He's not saying, it's basically fucking encouraging this shit, He's not telling them to stop, right? He didn't say that, he didn't call them criminals and like, what the fuck are you doing, No, he's basically, because they're doing it for him. That's why. So he's like this overgrown, ridiculous man baby who like can't fucking, it blows me away. I'm kind of like seriously at a loss for words here. Here's the other one that's been removed up here. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones, which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth. What is this thing that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do? He didn't have the courage to steal the election for Donald Trump, right? That's what it is. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to monkey with this ceremony and refuse to open the fucking envelope? I mean, that's the thing, is that this guy's the president, for crying out loud. He doesn't understand how the shit works. All right? He's the president. He doesn't know that Mike Pence is not allowed to just, declare himself the winner. Right? You got to remember Mike Pence was running for a re-election also. So that's not possible. He doesn't get it, but he doesn't understand because he's a fucking child, He's a child that's like throwing a temper tantrum. And his temper tantrum has the, unfortunate side effect of destroying our fucking democracy. It's seriously, man. You know. So yeah, I can see why they deleted his ass, and I can see why they locked him out. And fuck, they should make it permanent. Seriously, 12 hours is not enough time because he's just going to come back on tomorrow, right? And is he going to be like calm? And is he going to be like, you guys shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. We need to have peace and a peaceful transit. No, he's not going to say any of that shit at all. He's going to get back up and he's going to repeat the same ridiculous horseshit that he did today, and he's going to egg these fucking people on because our president is a fucking spoiled child, He's a child, man. He's a child that has, like, never been told no in his entire fucking life. Everything about Donald Trump is, like, what happens when you have, like, a spoiled kid who never gets disciplined and who gets away with fucking everything. That's what happens. You turn into Donald Trump. Seriously, dude. So, and this shit has, like, consequences, man. A woman, somebody got shot. Okay, a woman is dead now, We don't know the details to this yet because they haven't released anything. So I think they've kind of said that she was a protester, so she wasn't like a congressional staffer or anything like that, or a police officer, But why would they shoot somebody when everything, because they basically just let these guys walk in, right? There's video of that too, of them just kind of getting out of the way because they were overwhelmed. The cops were overwhelmed. They couldn't stop them. So they did their best to slow everything down while they fucking had to evacuate. They had to evacuate all the fucking senators, right? So why did they shoot this one woman? Probably because she was putting someone's life in danger. That's why. She's probably armed. If I had to speculate, this is all speculation here, okay? If I had to speculate, I would speculate that she was probably armed. She probably broke in on, like, an office where there was, like, a senator or a congressperson or something, right? And the police probably told her to put down the gun, and she probably didn't do it, and they probably shot her because she was directly threatening somebody, right? And y'all saw that video. I mean, that's my guess. Of course, now we'll find out, of course, what really happened. And, the right wing, the Maga people, I mean, can we call them terrorists yet? I hope so. I'm going to call them fucking terrorists, right? The MAGA fucking terrorists are already, like, turning this woman into a martyr, right? And I'm actually surprised that more of them didn't get shot. And let's remember that if this was, like, a left-wing protest, if this was BLM or whatever, there probably would have been a massacre there. They probably would have shot all of them. In fact, they never really would have gotten that far. They never would have actually broken into the building because, as we saw, they would have been prepared, and there would have been, like, 3 fucking columns of police outside of that building, kind of, in, like, Roman fucking soldier formation and shit. Right? She was unarmed? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, anyway, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the details are going to get out, The details are going to get out, and we'll see what really happened. I was just speculating, so who knows what actually really happened, right? But it just blows me away, man. It absolutely blows me away. They had to apparently pump in tear gas through the vents inside of the fucking building, right? So they got all the Congress people and all their staffers, and they made them put on, they made them put on gas masks, like it was a terrorist attack, I mean, I guess they were ready with gas masks. I guess that was some shit they had prepared in case fucking Al-Qaeda or something, dropped some mustard gas on the Capitol. At least they've got that shit under control, right? And they had to pumping, tear gas in there until they could clear it all out, which is ridiculous. Here's the crazy thing, though. Like we were saying there earlier before, excuse me. Like we were saying earlier before, this didn't really accomplish anything. It didn't stop it didn't stop the certification. The certification is going on as we speak right now. It just delayed it. So, all of this crazy shit, all of these people who are going to go to jail, right? All this damage and stuff, a woman who's fucking dead now. All of this shit happened, and it just delayed it by like 3 hours. Right? So, I don't know. I mean, was it worth it? Was this woman's life worth it? I do get occasionally, I do get, conservatives and shit that watch my channel, right? Although I haven't really seen, there was a couple of guys that came on all the time, and I haven't really seen them around lately. So I don't know. Maybe I finally pissed them off enough, and they left. And I just want to kind of understand, like what did you guys think was going to happen? Once you saw, like, when all these people went there, right, to go protest, what did they think was going to happen? Did they really think that their fucking protest was going to stop anything? You know, when they started breaking into the building, smashing down the fucking barriers, like apparently they broke through a window. A guy had a one of the police shields and was smashing a window, right? Like, what did they think they were going to do? Were they going to, like, you know, what? Steal the votes? Burn them? Right? Fucking kidnap Nancy Pelosi? Hold her for ransom? Put her on trial? Fucking execute her? You know what I mean? There was a guy that had plastic fucking twist ties, so I guess they're what, gonna hog tie her? Put her on a pole and drag her out in front of the crowd and, like, fucking, like, what? Throw eggs and tomatoes and shit at her? Pillory her, that kind of thing, drawing quarters. What was the plan? You know, they were there to murder Pence. Dynacat, hey Dynacat, how's it going, man? James Brooks, thank you for joining. Onward to Dystopia, thank you for joining. Wow, got a lot of people today. Like, what did they think was gonna fucking happen? It's like, protests, right? Don't actually. You're not supposed to change shit with protests. Like, when you start actually enacting violence like this, it's no longer a protest, right? And if it's no longer a peaceful protest, then the state is then justified in cracking down on you. All right, and I'll say the same shit when it comes to when it comes to a left-wing protest too, right? If your protest is violent and you're actually, like, putting people in danger and you're hurting people, right? Then the police are justified in basically fighting back and breaking up your protest because it's no longer peaceful. The law says, right, the Constitution guarantees you the right to peaceably assemble. Okay, peaceably assemble, all right? Now, peaceably assembling doesn't always mean obeying the law. Okay, there's a difference, right? There's breaking the law and then there's actually, like, causing harm, hurting people, right? You can break the law and not hurt people, If you do a sit-in, for example, that's breaking the law, right? Refusing to move, right? You see BLM protesters doing this all the time, blocking traffic. Stuff like that. That's breaking the law, right? But that's in a peaceful, non-violent way, right? They're not actually going in, breaking into a building, trashing shit, trying to kidnap people, or trying to murder the vice president, right? That's not peaceful, And I'll add to that, if you show up to a protest with a fucking weapon, with a gun, right? That's no longer peaceful either. Even if you don't use that gun, even if you just have it on you, like, why do you freaking bring it in the first place, right? The threat of violence is implicit in you just having that weapon. Okay? So just bringing the gun with you to, like, I mean, what are you going to do? Shoot the cops? You saw plenty of, like, video of these guys with handguns, right? People in the crowd with fucking AR-15s, shit like that. That's most likely why the cops went easy on them, by the way, because they didn't want to cause a fucking shootout, But at that point, when they start breaking into the fucking Capitol, they should have shot them, every once in a while, some lunatic will jump the fence at the White House. You know how that happens occasionally, right? Somebody will jump over the fence, or, like, I remember back in the 90s, a guy actually parachuted, from a fucking airplane and landed on the White House lawn. And they shoot, if you do that, if you jump the fence at the White House, they'll blow you away in a nanosecond, because they have snipers and shit covering, at all times, right? They have, like, guys with binoculars on buildings spotting people trying to see, because, the president's in there, so fucking, and if you're threatening the president, they'll blow you the fuck away, right? How come they don't have guys doing that in Congress? What, Congress people just aren't important enough? Right? Seriously, like, how come there were no spotters there? How come there were no snipers there? How come there were no, like, guys on buildings watching people and shit like that? Congress people, I guess, are just disposable, huh? Well, there's 100 of them, so fuck it. Who cares? One of them gets killed. Unbelievable, dude. I mean, do you remember back earlier this summer when like, Trump and like fucking Bill Barr like got a bunch of federal officers and deployed them out on the streets in order to protect like Confederate statues and shit like that. Do you remember all that shit? And how they were just grabbing people off the streets and throwing them in vans and all that. And then there was this thing where like Trump wanted to do this photo op at this church, so like he fucking, Bill Barr sent out a bunch of goons and they just like gassed everybody and kicked them all out so that Trump could go like fucking get a picture of him holding a Bible upside down. You remember that shit? Those were federal officers, right? It shows that when they want to, when it matters to them, they can be ready and they can not only protect themselves, but they can bring down the force of the law, right? And they seem to have no fucking problem bringing down the force of the law on left-wing protesters. They do that all the fucking time, right? But when it comes to the right wing, they let them get away with shit. They let them get away with the shit to the point where they're breaking into the fucking buildings. Apparently, in Oregon, they've surrounded the a bunch of MAGA people surrounded the fucking Oregon the governor of Oregon's mansion, the governor's mansion in Oregon, right? They've like surrounded that shit, broke in and like banging on the windows and stuff. Last I saw that no one's actually got hurt and they haven't actually broken inside of the mansion yet, but they're like in the grounds, right? At this point, apparently also down in downtown LA, there's some shit going on, although like, the headline says riots in LA, but then you see the video and it's like a crowd of like 30 people. So yeah, there ain't no riots going on as far as I can tell, So I guess that's the big danger, is that maybe this might spread. We might see in other cities. Apparently in Texas, they found a bomb at a state house in Texas, another pipe bomb, and then another one in Kansas, right? Kansas City, the state house there, but as far as I'm seeing, there aren't other widespread riots or anything elsewhere in the country. There's like little sort of small protests, they're not like, burning down cities or any shit like that. So I guess that's good at the moment, but who knows what the fuck's gonna happen tomorrow, right? And even right now, it looks like right now it's calmed down a little bit. It's calmed down enough to where the senators are back inside of the building, right? And there's a curfew and all that shit, but who knows? Who knows, it could flare up again at any fucking moment. Entire city filled with armed, crazy, fucking insane MAGA people who are like believe in conspiracy theories and they're fucking detached from reality. And they're angry. They're angry because all the shit that they've like invested all their like, time and money over the last year, all of this crap that they've like integrated into their identity. Their identity is starting to fall apart now, and so now they're lashing out. Right? That's what it is. This is like basically, when you get this is like, I would say, a reverse religious experience. What do I mean by that, right? Kind of like if you went to a mega church, right, and then you found out that the pastor of your mega church was like a sleazebag who was cheating on his wife and shit and embezzling money, and then you get all pissed off, right? You don't, like, if that happens, you don't actually stop being a believer, right? But you want to vent. That's what's going on right now. They're seeing that, okay, this is why they're turning against the Republican Party, right? They're seeing the Republican Party, which has kind of thrown them overboard, is what they think. They think the Republican Party has thrown them overboard. They think the Republican Party has, like, betrayed them, and they're lashing out at them, So it's not, and that's, that's where you can tell it's not just a political thing. It's not just Republicans versus Democrats anymore, right? These people, they don't have any loyalty to Republicans now. Their loyalty lies with Donald Trump. And so that's why they're lashing out at Mike Pence and fucking Mitch McConnell, right? And anybody else who doesn't, like, toe the line and kowtow to their fucking threats, It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and I don't know, man. I think this really is, bad news for the Republican Party. I hope so. I hope it fucking is, right? I can't understand myself why anybody would ever vote Republican ever again. Like, seriously, I've already kind of made up my mind that even if I get old and I turn into a conservative, because, you get old, right? And you start, like, getting crotchety and shit. Right? And plus, you start making more money, so you start voting for, like, tax cuts and shit like that. And it just happens, you turn into a boomer, and suddenly you're just like, you're mad at all those kids riding their skateboards up and down the fucking sidewalk and shit like that. Right? Even if that happens and I start getting all like, old and crotchety and conservative, I would still never vote Republican. Ever. Like, I've already kind of made up my mind. Like, in my entire life, I'm never going to vote for a Republican ever. I don't even care. Right? It would have to be like the Democrat would have to be like a child molester. Right? Or there'd have to be video of the Democrat like stomping on a kitten or something like that in order for me to like not, and even then I would just not vote, if that were to happen. Or I'd vote third party. I still wouldn't vote Republican. I don't give a fuck, right? Gandhi could be running for president on the Republican ticket. It could be like fucking, Gandhi and Mother Teresa, right? Like running on a ticket, or whatever, or whatever figures of people who were like morally upstanding. I know that Gandhi and Mother Teresa both had shitty things in their pasts, right? And I would still not vote for them, because their brand is like gone to me. But, I understand that we just got through an election where 74 million people voted Republican. So apparently their brand isn't completely destroyed, and I hope that this ruins it. I hope that people are horrified by what they see that almost happened. This attempted insurrection, right? Which, as far as insurrections go, it was horseshit. Let's remember that this was a bullshit insurrection that only lasted a couple hours. But still, I hope people are horrified enough by what happened today that it destroys the Republican brand. And I hope they fucking never recover. Now, they probably will. That's something to keep in mind, right? They're most likely going to clean up in the midterms in 2 years, in 2022. They're most likely going to take back the Senate, at least take back the Senate. So the fight goes on, but maybe not. Maybe this will be enough. Maybe this will be enough to turn people off from them. And, maybe now they'll realize, like, hey, these fucking people are insane. Right? Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I don't even think this would be enough. I'm already seeing online people defending even this shit that was happening today. I'm seeing people defend this stuff. On Reddit especially. Like, go to R Conservative on Reddit. Go to Trump Win. Right? That's another one, right? Stuff like that. There's another one called Actual Public Freakouts on Reddit. That's another one. People are defending this stuff, okay? Because they're insane. There's really no other way. Like, at what point do you decide that these people are beyond saving, right? Because you're seeing that a lot now in leftist circles. People talking about how do we reform the right wing? How do we educate and reform the MAGA people so that they're like, so that they can join public life? What do we do about 74 million people who voted for this maniac? And how do we fucking deprogram them, right? Well, when is it when do you just give up and say there is no deprogramming these people, right? There's really nothing. I mean, I don't think there's very much we can do for most of them, You've seen these videos of these people. Most of these guys are old, right? Old, and they're in their, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? There's a reason why they call them, fucking, the mobile scooter brigade and shit, right? So most of these guys are, set in their ways. They're old, they're set in their ways, right? They're not gonna, and even something like this isn't gonna, change their minds, right? So when do we decide, like, hey, fuck trying to deprogram them. How about we just like stop them from taking power? How about that, right? How about we like, now that we're going to actually have, all three branches of government for a fucking change, how about we put in some like reforms, right? To prevent this kind of thing from actually happening, How about we put in some laws, some regulations that so a president, right, like doesn't have the ability to monkey with elections like this. You know what I mean? And or if a politician is actually like promoting sedition, we can fucking do something about it next time. How about we do this? We can actually pass some laws that could stop this shit, right? One of those laws I think is any politician that goes on social media and calls for the overthrow of government should be kicked out of office immediately, right? This is seriously, this is one of the things we can do, okay? Because when you're a politician, and if you advocate for the overthrow of the United States, that's why are we allowing this to fucking stay in? Why are we allowing the president to go on social media and rile people up like this in the first place? How come this doesn't, this should be something that he could get impeached for? There's actually a call now, I saw, not just to impeach him, but to invoke the 25th Amendment, right? This is real shit. Let me just turn on this here so you can see this article. In fact, I will put it in the, this is not really much of an article here, but if you want to read it, it's in the chat there. There we go. Cabinet members discuss invoking 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. So apparently this is true shit. And this is not just from staffers or something like that. This is actual, like the tweet says here from Ed O'Keefe, actual members of the cabinet. They're finally taking this shit seriously. What took them so fucking long? Alright? Like, seriously, why? Now they're doing it. They're doing it with 2 weeks left. Right? I mean, there were plenty of opportunities throughout the 4 years here where Donald Trump was acting erratically, even in criminal ways where they could have, like, ejected his ass. I mean, we tried to impeach him, that shit didn't work. Okay, so now finally, I guess, this is one step too far. Riling up a mob of fucking, like, right-wing fucking brainwashed insane people to go try to take over the government on his behalf. I guess maybe finally they've decided enough is enough. They should have done this shit years ago. Seriously, right? I don't know, man. Here's hoping. This would be awesome, actually, if they actually did invoke the 25th Amendment. So, for you guys if you don't know what the 25th Amendment is, there's a provision that says if the president is mentally unfit to execute his office, then the cabinet gets together and they can decide to remove him, and they have to have the vice president backing him, right? And it's supposed to be something like if the president's in a coma, something like that. He's mentally unprepared to, like, mentally not able to be the president. If he's supposed to be like if he's in a coma, like, for example, I think Ronald Reagan had surgery, and for like 2 or 3 hours, George Bush Sr. was president while he was under surgery. That's the 25th Amendment, right? Something like that. Same thing happened with George Bush Jr. Dick Cheney was acting as president for like half an hour while he was like, having like a medical procedure, right? But this is also the provision, the provision says, if he's not, mentally fit, well, I think this may qualify, this may qualify, right? Apparently Donald Trump is very, like, depressed, and all he talks about is fucking the election that he lost 3 months ago, refuses to move on, and he's entertaining these conspiracy theories. I mean, we had that thing with the phone call 2 days ago that was big news until this shit happened. You remember the leaked phone call with the governor of fucking Georgia, where, like, he was basically just asking the guy to, like, fabricate 11,000 votes so that he can win the election. That's not the only phone call. Oh, shit, kicked the monitor. There we go. That wasn't the only phone call. Apparently he also called the, governor of Pennsylvania, and he called, like, the Republican lawmakers in the state legislature in both of those states, right? Trying to get them to, like, field alternate electors for him, that kind of thing. Basically trying to get him to steal the election for him, right? I mean, yeah, maybe he is a little bit off his rocker, right? If he's, like, making phone calls like this, trying to steal a fucking election that he clearly lost, right? And not only did he lose the election, but then, 60 different court cases, right? Over 60, I think, at this point. Different court cases where it's just, like, every single one of them gets kicked out of court. Some of them in, like, from judges that he appointed himself, for crying out loud, right? So, like, and he still won't fucking let it go, right? And the country's suffering because of it. The country's suffering, man. The new president, Joe Biden, is not getting, they're not coordinating with him. They're not sharing, like, fucking military intel with him, shit like that, right? So there's not going to be a smooth transfer of power, so he's going to come in there, he's going to have to scramble, or stuck behind, like, he's not going to know what the fuck's going on, because this is the law. The law says that you're supposed to, like, do this, do you know that when Donald Trump took over, right, apparently they were so unready himself back in 2017. They were so not ready on their side for the transition that they didn't have staffers, right? And they asked the Obama people to recommend to them Republicans that they could hire as staffers. Okay? So, I mean, it kind of goes to show, like, since the beginning, they were, like, incompetent. Since the very fucking beginning. It wasn't just, like, recent failures that these people have been experiencing. It's like, from day one, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I mean, really, look at how many people are dead now, like, because of the pandemic. Like, 340,000, right? I mean, isn't any wonder that he lost the election, right? If any president presided over 340,000 people dying of a fucking pandemic due to his bad leadership, do you really think that any president would have won in that case, right? I mean, it blows me away. And it blows me away that it's like so many fucking people voted for his ass. Apparently something like 60% of Republicans actually think that the election was stolen. They think that, all of this shit is true. If you look back to election day, that number was something like 15%, right? So 3 months of just steady propaganda from their fucking cult leader has convinced a very large number of, the country, right? A large number of people that this shit's actually true, So how many people voted for Donald Trump? 74 million, right? So what's 60% of 74 million? 40 million people? 40 million people is more than enough to support a coup, right? This is dangerous shit, and everybody laughs at it. When we said over the summer, yeah, this might actually happen. There might be violence. He might actually try it. People laughed at it, right? I kind of, even me myself, when the news came out that he was, like, talking to the military, trying to get the military to, like, step in and, like, basically, and the military came out and said we're not, they weren't going to play ball with him. Said we're not going to have any role in the transition of power whatsoever, right? Even when that happened, it's like, that should have been it right there. It's like, all right, he's talking to the fucking generals, trying to convince them to, like, take over the country with them, right? Trying to convince them to fucking start a coup, right? Remove his ass. Remove his ass, for crying out loud. Can we please fucking remove his ass? And it's like, I don't know. So finally, it looks like they're finally taking this shit seriously. And, honestly, that would be, like, the perfect ending to this entire debacle, of not just not just what happened tonight or since the election, but the entire Trump presidency. If he actually got removed via the 25th Amendment 2 weeks before he was supposed to leave from an election that he lost, right? It would really solidify that he is the worst president who has ever lived, right? Took, a somewhat growing economy, with 3.4% or 3.7% unemployment when he came on in 2017. That's what unemployment was at, right? Unemployment is now around 7%, but that's actually low. The real number is much higher than 7%. The real number is closer to 9%, right? Back in February, unemployment got all the way up to 15%, almost. It was like 14.7, right? 20 million jobs lost in a year since this. There are 10 million less jobs now than there was in February of 2020, right? 12.7 million people on unemployment. Okay, we have hundreds of thousands of people who are about to get evicted from their houses, right? The bill that they passed with the $600 stimulus, that only gives an extra month of eviction protection, right? 1 month. So, basically hundreds of thousands of people are facing down being homeless by this time next month, right? All of this shit happens. This is what electing the wrong leader does to your country. Louis the Hedgehog, 356,000 plus. Jesus Christ, really? See, I haven't looked at it in like a couple of days. It's like, that's how much happens in like fucking 4 days. Jesus. These are the consequences, folks. When the wrong person gets elected, when the person who gets the less amount of votes becomes president, this is what happens, right? Let's remember this, man. Hillary Clinton got more votes, right? She, if we didn't have this backwards ass fucking system, this electoral college system, this system that was designed to, placate slave owners, right? If we didn't have that and we actually went with a logical system like, the guy who gets the most votes fucking wins, like every other country on earth, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. This wouldn't have happened. It would have been apparent, even without all the finagling and all the, if we just had a normal, logical fucking voting system where, the guy who gets the most votes fucking wins like it's supposed to, all of this would have been resolved months ago, We even knew going into the election that Joe Biden was going to win the popular vote. Everybody already assumed that. Okay, think about that shit. Think about, what we're actually saying. We're going, okay, here's the guy that gets more. We all know who that's going to be. But because of some weird-ass technical, counting fucking method that we use, this guy over here who actually gets less votes might actually win. What kind of backwards ass shit is that? Right? Why do we still have that? Can we get rid of that, please? All of this would have been avoided. That woman would still be alive today, for one thing, right? And plus, who knows how many other people who have died in fucking protests over this year. The 2 guys that like fucking Kyle Rittenhouse shot, the 4 people who got stabbed 2 weeks ago by fucking Proud Boys. Do we even know who those people are? Did they even like have any suspects for that? Are any of these guys going to be held accountable? Probably not. Right? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, man. I don't know. I have a couple of videos I want to show here that I saved on Reddit. Just showing, because there is a little bit of the lighter side of, let me see, let me go to my saved ones here. And there were a couple here that are disgusting and insane and funny as hell at the same time. So here's one, right? Let me just make this big here and pause that. So this, fuck you, pause. Okay. This is basically, these are the cops here. Let me just turn on my monitor so you guys can see what's happening here. This is at the Capitol, and these are the cops, and it appears like they just kind of move these barriers and just let the crowd walk right into the Capitol building. Now, before we start this, I just kind of want to show you, like, these are all the cops they fucking have there. Like, are you serious? Like, this is it. These are just like, this is the barriers they have. These are just like those little barrier things they put up, like when you're buying tickets to go to Disneyland or something, or to go to a concert, right? Some shit like that. You know, where's the fucking, like, you know, crowd control? Seriously, what the fuck is this, dude? And how come there's only 3 cops here for this entire fucking huge ass crowd? You know? Unbelievable. So let me go ahead and, you know, let's hit play. And I want to watch these guys. Like, they just basically just let them walk right in. Like, see they're here? Look at that. Look at that. See that? See, they moved it away. They moved it away and just let these guys walk right into the fucking Capitol. What is this shit? Right? What the fuck is that? You know? Let me turn that off here. I don't understand. Why did they let him in? Do they think that they were gonna, like, overrun the fucking pathetic, like, barriers they had there? Or do they think that would appease the crowd if they let them get closer to the building? You know? Ridiculous. I hope somebody loses their job over that shit. Alright, here's one that, you know, looking on the, quiet you. Looking on the brighter side of this stuff. Here's, Elizabeth. And, Elizabeth was not ready for the revolution. So, let me go ahead and turn this one on here. Alright.
What happened to you?
I got maced.
You got maced?
Oh, I got maced. Boo-hoo.
What happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside and they pushed me out and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
What happened to you?
Yeah, we're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution. What the fuck is that? And here's something I wanted to add to that. Do you see how entitled that woman is? You know, they maced me, they pushed me out. Well, why did you want to go in there? Because it's a revolution. Yeah, no shit, you're lucky they only fucking maced you. You know, if you were, do you think a Black Lives Matter person, they would have just maced him and kicked him out of the building? You know? Or would they have, like, smashed their fucking head in, like, while they were at it, and shot him in the face with a rubber bullet? You know? Seriously, man. And that's what really gets me a lot with all of this shit, right? How, like, fucking blatantly entitled these MAGA assholes are. Like, remember that video we just saw, Baked Alaska? You know, complaining that he got pushed. You're not allowed to push me, man. The guy pushed me for no fucking reason. Yeah, he pushed you because you broke into the fucking Capitol. You fucking terrorist. Nazi piece of shit. Right? They should have shot you in the fucking... Ah, Jesus Christ. Alright. No, okay, they shouldn't have shot him with a gun. Right? But they would have. If he was a Black Lives Matter person, they would have shot him. Unbelievable. And that's what really gets me about all this stuff. It's like, you know, and here's the thing you got to keep in mind, okay? The right wing, the Proud Boys, right? The fucking MAGA people, all these guys, all throughout this summer, whenever there were videos of leftists, of Antifa, of Black Lives Matter people getting the shit kicked out of them by cops, they were all for it. They were, like, egging that shit on. They were like, you know, support the blue and all this other shit. You know, they were like 100% behind the cops. When the cops were brutalizing leftists, right? people who were out there, like, fighting for, like, equal treatment under the law, fighting against fascism, fighting against racism. When it came to those guys, and the cops overstepping their bounds, and the cops brutalizing people, and doing all this shit, they were completely 100% behind all that, How many videos did we see over this last summer of cops just, like, tackling people for no reason? People who are, like, not being violent. Shooting a guy. There was a guy got shot in the fucking head by a tear gas canister. That was one. People getting shot in the face with rubber bullets. Losing their eyes, stuff like that. Right? How many like instances did we see of that? And also how many instances did we see of police defending right wingers when Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer and the 3%ers and all these fucking pieces of shit would show up and start brawling with Antifa people, and then the cops would step in and defend them, right? And stop the fucking Antifa guys. How many times do we see that shit? Right? But yeah, when it happens to them, oh no, now it's a big fucking travesty. Now it's like, oh, the cops have gone too far. I don't know if you saw that video of Proud Boys in Portland last week, how they're like stepping on the blue flag and all that, turning against the police because the police had the audacity to like break up their fucking riot. It's unbelievable, man. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. Lantern Light. My dad is a Republican. He says they should have gunned them down. At least he's consistent. Yeah, well, my dad's a Republican too, actually. My dad is an ex-cop, and he's very conservative, but I don't think he would be on these people's side either. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, I don't want people to get blown away, all right? I don't want people to die, I'm a liberal lefty person, right? I believe in free speech, right? I believe in your ability to address the government for grievances, but I believe I believe that those actions have to be peaceful in order to be legitimate, okay? I'm not one for violent revolution. I don't believe there's a place for violent revolution, and I think if it gets to the point where violent revolution is necessary, then you failed as a society, Right now, this is like, this is not peaceful protest, what these guys are doing, right? Breaking into a government building is not peaceful protest, right? Showing up to a protest with a gun is not a fucking peaceful protest, right? Going there to beat the crap out of leftists is not a peaceful protest. That's the entire reason why the Proud Boys were started in the first place, is to go brutalize fucking hippies and shit. That's their entire thing. One of the things, one of the aspects of their stupid ass club, in order to be a member, is that you have to go get in a fight and beat up a commie, right? For real. That's what they're there for. They're the actual fucking fascists. So when they talk about, when Antifa is talking about, go out and bash the fash, these are the actual people that are trying to, like, we're seeing it right here. These are the people that are trying to take over the fucking country in order to hand it to the guy who lost the fucking election. I mean, if that's not fascism, then what is? Okay? We have to kind of be real here. You know what I mean? We have to be real. We have to stop pussyfooting around, right? And we have to, like, see what the fuck is actually really happening, And what's really happening is that these guys are trying to basically destroy the United States, If, for whatever reason, the president who was, the person who was elected does not become, does not take office, right? Then the country's gone. That's it. We're no longer the United States if that actually happens, right? If, a democratically elected president, right, who was elected in accordance to the law, in accordance to the Constitution, is not allowed to actually take, take power, then this is, fuck it, the country's gone. And at that point, yes, violent revolution all the way, right? At that point, it's like, okay, you have to choose sides when that happens. And I still think, even then, that we could have a revolution without guns in the streets, I still think we could do something like a you know, like an Arab Spring kind of thing, where just 2 million people show up in Washington and just don't leave and just disrupt and bring everything to a fucking screeching halt. We could do that around the entire country. General strikes, shit like that. You know what I mean? That's how you actually, because there's no way, like if you think about, if you actually did want to revolt against the United States today, there's no way you're going to win, right? I don't know what this fantasy that these morons have about there's going to be a second civil war and all of this shit, right? I don't know if you guys have ever read about that. I spend a lot of time in conservative circles on the internet, so I hear about this shit over and over, right? This is the fantasy. Let me explain it to you guys, okay? This is what these insane MAGA people think a second world war, a second American Civil War would look like, all right? They think it would be the country versus the cities. This is how it would go, right? And these people in their country folk in the rural areas would, basically lay siege to all the city areas. And the reason they think this, of course, is because in the city, that's where all the black people live, right? All the black people, all the Latinos, shit like that, all the non-whites live in these areas, so they must be evil, So they say the liberal cities, So basically, if you guys don't know, the word liberal in this language is essentially the same thing as black, Black, liberal, Antifa, it all means the same fucking thing. These people, it's basically their stand-ins for the N-word is what they are, right? And so this is what they imagine. This is how they imagine that it's going to happen. That they're going to they're going to lay siege to the cities. They're not going to allow any food in or out, and within a week or so, all the cities are just going to starve to death, right? And the people inside are going to go nuts and they're going to start rioting, right? And all of this shit, and then the government will fucking collapse, right? And then they'll deport all of the fucking illegal aliens, and they'll sweep in, they'll execute all the Democrats and deport all the illegal aliens and shit like that, and start their fucking white ethno state in the Pacific Northwest. This is seriously this is what people think a second civil war would look like. And they think that they can do all of this with their pansy ass fucking AR-15s, right? And their small arms and all of this crap, And what they don't understand is that, when the shit, if the shit like that if the shit were to ever hit the fan like that, they would become the terrorists. They would become the enemy, right? All the power that Uncle Sam brought down on Afghanistan and Iraq, right, and every other little country that we've interfered with in the last 20 years would be brought down on them. Okay? Your AR-15 isn't going to do shit against a drone strike. All right? It's not going to do a goddamn thing. It's probably not even going to stop a soldier with a flak jacket who has a military version of the gun you have that can fire way more rounds than you, right? This is it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy that, they wouldn't, seriously, you would need an army with 100,000 men in order to overtake the United States government. It doesn't make any sense. And this is what they fucking think is going to happen. There is no second civil war. All right, it's not going to be a the states. If the states aren't going to fucking secede, that's bullshit. Because you see, every state out there has a secession movement. Believe it or not, you just never hear about them because they're filled. They're usually run by wacky, insane people. Lyndon LaRouche types, right? And you heard about some of this over this last, couple of weeks, for example, Texas has a secession thing, right? Well, so does California, so does Oregon, every fucking state has it. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. The South is never going to rise again. The states are never going to fucking secede, right? These idiots are never going to, cordon off, all the highways and stop food from getting to Los Angeles. It's complete fucking bullshit. I don't know. Booyah Amadan, you forget, Mark, if Taliban can commit IED killing, so can MAGAs. Yeah, they could. But here's the thing, it's like, you know, do we have does okay, is there let's say, how can I phrase this, right? I don't think that there is the stamina in, you know, the American patriot movement. Let's call it that. Even though they're not patriots, they're fucking traitors, but they call themselves patriot. They call it the patriot movement, right? Does the American patriot movement have the stamina for a protracted insurrection? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think um, the moment that house to house raids started happening, the shit would crack, right? The moment that some of those people started getting thrown in prison, right? Because at that point, if you're blowing up roadside bombs, IEDs, shit like that, you're a terrorist. Okay, you're not a revolutionary anymore. You're a terrorist, right? I mean, these guys, I call them, they're terrorists now, but you're really a fucking terrorist if you're blowing up bombs. That's just like, you know, killing random fucking people on the side of the fucking freeway, right? Do you really think that the general populace is going to side with you over the government? Yeah, I got a bridge to sell you, right? I got a bridge to sell you. You know, the average American has zero fucking stamina for terrorism, you know, for an ideological, like, war against the government involving, like, guns and bombs and shit. No. Because we don't do that in the United States, okay? We vote in the United States, all right? 200 years, you know, more than that at this point. 244 years, right? We've had, you know, elections, peaceful elections with a peaceful transfer of power. And even when shit hit the fan, it never got to the point, you know, even when there was armed resurrections and stuff like this, it was all quickly put down because they never got popular support, you know. Except that one time, of course, when we had a civil war, right? But even that, you know, we were able to squash those assholes, right? You know, so I don't know why they think it's going to work a second time, you know. But yeah, so there have been insurrections in the past, believe it or not. You know, there has been, you know, things like the fucking Whiskey Rebellion, stuff like that, right? But I mean, lately though, you know, in the last 60, 70 years, has there been, right? Not really, you know, because our government has been stable, right? Our country's stable. And even now, yes, it is actually still stable, you know. And I really do believe that even though there may be up to 40 million people who support this shit, how many of those people really, though, would, like, you know, last very long or even support, like, a bombing campaign, you know? Because that's the form that it would take, you know, if there actually was a civil war. That's the form it would take. It would be things like bombing campaigns, right? Kidnappings, you know, shit like that. Because there's no way that, you know, a group of armed men are going to go occupy a building and get away with it. No, it's a death sentence, you know. If, like, say, a group of, like, 25 guys took over a fucking Capitol building and shot everybody inside, you know, it's over, right? No, and I don't think, you know, I think the minute that, like, the news got out there and started showing pictures of civilian casualties, it's over. You know, it would never get the popular support in order to sustain it. I think Oklahoma City, you know, the Oklahoma City bombing, right? Like, people turned against, you know, because there was actually, like, in the 90s, kind of a growing militia movement, right? And the minute that shit happened, and pictures of, like, little children and shit were on the news, all bloody and everything, that shit went away, and, you know, people turned against them in a nanosecond. And that's what would happen. That's what would happen if these guys start sending mail bombs and stuff. Because, you know, so... Anyway, folks, oh, God, fucking head hurts. What time is it? 1:20? Holy fucking shit. I'm really interested to see, you know, over the next couple of days how this develops. I debated whether or not I should go on with a live stream right now, because I knew that all this live stream was going to be is just me fucking ranting and raving for 2 hours, you know. Um, a lot of what we know at the beginning of when stories in the news are new like this, a lot of it can change, right? And because that's what happens with any news stories. That when you begin, there's always a lot of hearsay. There's always a lot of like, we don't have all the details. Like this woman who got shot, we don't really know who she was. Shit like that. We don't really know what happened just yet. They haven't released those details that I've seen, and they might have, but they might have since then, right? And so I really debated whether or not I should come on tonight, and then I ultimately decided to, because this shit's important. This shit is important, and we can't allow it to just, fade away, right? And we can't allow it to, we have to address these things when they happen, right? And, we need to talk about these things, and we need to talk about it with your friends and your family, you know what I mean? A lot of you, like I'm hearing, for example, Lantern Light, and me, myself, we have relatives and friends who are conservatives, you know what I mean? You need to talk to them. You need to talk to your friends and your family that are conservative and see what's going on with them and what they support. And, because this is how you change hearts and minds. You do it one person at a time, right? From the grassroots up. This is how you deprogram people, Like you were saying, Lantern Light, you were saying, okay, your father is not going for this shit. You're saying, why are they acting like Antifa? That's a perfect opening right there. You can talk to them about Antifa, right? If you're like, yeah, well, this is what Antifa's really about. They're there to stop fascists, right? And maybe that's a good, opening where you can actually discuss what Antifa actually is, because I can guarantee you his view of what Antifa is not anywhere close to what the reality is. He probably has some kind of weird warped version, probably thinks they're fucking super soldiers created by George Soros or some shit, that are going out there and burning down cities and beating up old ladies, because he probably got that from Sean Hannity or One American News Network or some shit, because all they do is spread lies all day. No, that's an opportunity for you to educate them a little bit, So no, this is what they're really there for. This is what BLM really stands for, right? This is what they really do. Yeah, okay, yes, there are riots sometimes. Yes, things get out of hand sometimes, and when that happens, it's wrong, and the actual leaders of the movement fight back against that when that does happen, right? And it's and there's also things like agent provocateurs and shit like that. Show them those videos, man. Show them the videos of the cop going, there was that one, that one plant guy who went in and smashed the windows of that fucking Pep Boys. Remember that shit? Remember that guy? I think he actually turned out to be a cop, I think. The guy that went smashed up a bunch of windows out of Pep Boys, and then there was a kid with a pizza following him around trying to get him to who are you? What are you doing here? Remember that guy? And it turned out that guy was a white supremacist. Shit like that. Show them those videos. Be like, see, look, there's agent provocateurs here. There's guys who are blaming, smashing up shit. Show them the videos of the police slashing people's tires, in Portland. Remember that? In Seattle, that's what it was. Video of cops slashing tires. Why are these cops slashing these tires? What the fuck is going on, right? That's your opening, right? Ultimately, your friends and your family, they want your respect. Especially your parents, Kind of talked about this in the last stream a little bit. But it bears repeating because it's true, Your parents want your respect. They want you to respect them. You know what I mean? And, so you can approach them most of the time, unless you just have insane asshole parents that are toxic and shit that you should stay away from. But if you have normal, reasonable parents, like most people do, hopefully, then they want you to like them. Obviously, they want you to respect them, and you can kind of show, that has to go both ways. Respect has to go both ways. And it's well, you can do that by, letting me explain my opinions to you. Right. And it may, who knows, this is how you change minds. This is how you you know, deprogram people, right? You see them the actual like what's really happening and what are they really supporting, and the people that they're supporting, what do they really fucking do? You know what I mean? You know, these guys who are like, um, part of like the Oath Keepers and shit like that, right? Like my dad's a cop. You know, he's kind of that perfect demographic to fit in with those people. You know, he actually wanted to get a tattoo on his wrist. He wanted me to draw him a tattoo, which I never did. I should probably draw it for him. You know, that it was like a thing like, anti-ISIS kind of tattoo or whatever. And it's like, right, he's like that perfect demographic to where I could definitely see him, you know, one day showing up at one of these protests in a flak jacket, you know, as part of the Oath Keepers or some shit like that. And it's like, in some sense, it's like, no, you owe it to them to try to help them, break out of their media bubble as much as you can. You know, your friends, your family, the people you care about. That's where you start, right? I mean, yeah, it's not all just arguing with complete strangers online. Even though that can actually be effective too. I mean, more than once I've actually got emails from people who have like said, "Hey, I read your blog or something," or I followed this argument you had on Reddit, and it's very rare, but it has happened a couple of times to me. Where someone said, "Hey, I read this thing that you wrote or whatever, and it actually kind of got me thinking about X, Y, Z, and it changed my opinion." And it's like it can happen. It's like some people do read the comments. That's what you got to remember. People read the comments. People read your when you argue with a guy on a forum or on Reddit or something like that, or in the YouTube comments, people read that shit. Sometimes, not all the time. And you never know who you might actually reach, right? So it's worth engaging, is what I'm trying to say. It's worth engaging in any way that you can in order to, help people understand, why you support the things you support, right? Anyway, let's see. Let's read some of the comments here. I think I got through all the shit I wanted to talk about. Baked Alaska. We talked about bombs, right? Yeah, we did. One other thing before we move on. So this is all, like I think we mentioned, this is all sort of for naught because the Senate is still voting on the, they're still counting the fucking electoral votes. They're still certifying it. It looks like it has had a little bit of a calming effect on some of the Republican senators because a number of them pledged, right, to actually contest the results. And it looks like a couple of them have bailed out on that. So, for example, the challengers to Arizona's, electoral votes, right? Originally, there was something like 12 senators that said that they were going to sign on to it, and only 6 of them did. So they voted 93-6 to reject a challenge to Arizona's electoral votes, right? So that means some of them have actually kind of backed off. They've seen what happened today and kind of said, this shit is going too far, right? It'd be interesting to see who those people actually were. I'm wondering if Ted Cruz is still buying into this shit or if he's backed off. I know that Kelly Loeffler backed off, which is funny because I mean, she just lost her election, so I'm getting the feeling that she just wants to fucking disappear now, right? But I wonder who those 6 senators, whatever those 6 senators were, that even after all of this shit happened, after a person fucking died, after some people broke into their fucking offices and, trashed the Capitol building and were out to fucking kill the vice president, shit like that, if they still bought into this stuff, whoever they are, those are the people that we need to watch out for. Those are the guys that don't have any fucking scruples, they don't have any morals, they don't give a fuck about democracy. Whoever it is, whether it's Ted Cruz or if it's like, whatever those 6 senators are, those are the guys that we should concentrate on in 2014. If they're up for re-election, we should concentrate on knocking those guys out. You know, Ted Cruz is still buying into it. Donna Cat loves me. Okay. Especially Ted Cruz. Yeah, we should put some time and energy into unelecting his fucking ass, right? And whoever is running against Ted Cruz should never allow him to live this down. Ever. Right? Like, until the end of time, we should be, like, tweeting at Ted Cruz and like, fucking taunting him and taunting his followers. And never let him forget that he fucking signed on and tried to overturn the election when there was an angry mob outside gunning for blood, right? An angry mob of insane armed right-wing protesters who had already fucking resulted in the death of one person. And who knows how many more in the coming days if the shit starts up again. Right? Like, let's never let him forget. You know, Ted Cruz is a fucking traitor. Okay? That's what he is. He's a traitor. Right? These people are not, they're not patriots. That's, you know, the right wing, they like to monopolize patriotism. They like to pretend that they're the only ones that care about the country. They're the only ones that care about the soldiers and all this other shit. And if you're like a fucking part of the liberal elite, and if you drink, you know, if you eat leeks and you drink fucking, you know, soy lattes and you eat hamburgers with mustard and shit like that, then you're just a fucking liberal elite, you know, commie. You're not a real American. You know, the real Americans are us in the Midwest, and we only eat beef, you know, chicken is a vegetable out here, and all this other shit. Right. They like to fucking, like, you know, it's part of their identity that they're the real Americans, you know. And they always, like, you know, they always, like, greedily fucking, like, hoard all the patriotism only for themselves. And it's like, fuck that. No. They're not patriots. They're traitors. Every one of those people that went to that Capitol today and broke into that building is a fucking traitor, right? Ted Cruz is a fucking traitor. And let's never let him forget that until the day he dies. I'm serious. He's a fucking traitor. I'm going to go make a t-shirt with Ted Cruz's face on it and just the word traitor and maybe asshole at the bottom. I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start selling them, you know, because fuck that guy. So, anyway, I don't know. And I hope this ruins them, you know. One last thing. I mean, in any just world, this would destroy the Republicans, right? I hope so. I mean, I don't think it will, you know, and every time the Republicans lose an election, something like that, there's always articles about how is this the end of the Republican Party? You know, like right now, like they just, in Georgia, they just got trashed, you know, and fuck, my eyes hurt. I gotta take a break for a second. They just got trashed in Georgia, you know, so that means like Georgia, which was a red state, it voted for, you know, Biden, and then both the senators went Democratic, you know. That's a sign of things to come. I fucking hope so. I hope it means that we finally broke the back of the Republican Party in the South, because Georgia is the South, you know. It's a southern state, right? It's been solidly red for a generation, probably longer, since the 60s at least, you know. And the fact that they just vote, that they've turned so totally blue like this is maybe some hope. Maybe means that, like, you know, this red wall in the South has finally fucking been, like, you know, they finally managed to get around it. And if that shit happens, it's like, man, if we can keep Georgia reliably blue for the future, it means that we might actually see some actual real change in this country. And I hope so. And I hope this contributes to it. I hope this makes it so that people are embarrassed to vote Republican. Right. And, you know, and I hope all the MAGA assholes go off and start their own third political party. And I hope it splits the vote and they never win anything of any significance again for, you know, 100 years. I mean, I don't know. When one can only dream. Maybe that's the silver lining in this fucking horrible shit show. You know, maybe that's it. That we've finally broken the back of the fucking Republican Party, but somehow I don't think so. My nose is stuffy. Okay, let's read some of the comments here. Wow, you guys got a lot of comments here. Shit. So, let me see. Let me start at the beginning. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through all of these because there's like a ton of them. But let's see. Let's see what we got. Uh, Pentazoid 111. I like them attacking the Senate even when they do it for the wrong reasons. The people on Capitol Hill are my enemy. They steal from me. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, are you thinking like, steal from you? Like how? Like taxes being thievery? Something like that? I don't know. We could debate that. Uh, Onward to Dystopia. I didn't realize how bad some people wanted those AOC feet pics. Yeah, I know, huh? That's some funny shit. I wonder if there's actually because it looked like from some of those pictures that there was some looting going on there, and I wonder if they stole anything. I kind of hope they come down on these assholes like a ton of bricks. Like you have that crazy guy that's in my that one dude wearing the fucking like bearskin rug with a horned hat or whatever. He's in the you know marquee picture for this video. He was the guy that was standing standing at the fucking podium there. Or then the other guy that took his picture with like his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk or whatever. Or Baked Alaska too, that asshole live streamed himself going in there. I hope they come down on those fucking people. I hope they throw the fucking book at these people. I hope they get Baked Alaska and they throw his ass in prison for 10 years for fucking sedition. Right? Because, you can't, I mean, fuck, what more proof do you need than, a fucking live stream of you, like, breaking into the Capitol, right? And this ain't peaceful fucking protest, okay? You're not allowed to just burst into a fucking government building while Congress is in session, like, fuck you, no. No, okay, he doesn't have a right to be there. He didn't have a right to be there. I hope they throw him in the deepest, darkest fucking hole there is for a decade. Make it a fucking lesson to everybody else. Okay, because they have to. They have to come down on these guys hard, or else they're just gonna do it again. So let's fucking hope. Let's pressure them. That's another thing we can do. We can pressure, our lawmakers to actually hold these fucking people accountable. Not just the politicians that are going along with it, but the actual perpetrators of this crime. Because it's not a protest anymore when you're smashing your way into a fucking government building like that, and putting people's lives in danger. That's not a peaceful protest, right? Come down on them like a ton of fucking bricks. Throw the book, the gavel, and the entire fucking like courthouse at them. Seriously. Anyway, let's see. Dynacat, the real thing we need to find out is how the Capitol Police were in on it. Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. Now I don't want to. I mean, this is all speculation, right? But we saw the video. We saw the video of how they, just opened the gates and let people walk up to the Capitol, which is unbelievable. And yeah, maybe they did it because they were afraid because there was only like 5 of them. 5 cops. Maybe they thought they were going to be overrun. Who knows what that fucking reason is? I'm getting the feeling that they didn't prepare for this on purpose, and if it can be because, and then also you notice Donald Trump also refused to send the National Guard, right? If that can be proved, if it can be proved that he purposely didn't have directed whatever, stand-in attorney general here to not prepare for this shit, right? Like, if that can be proved that they did it on purpose, like, what motive would there be for that? Well, really, the only motive would be that he was kind of hoping that the fucking mob, right, would somehow, either disrupt Congress or in some way, do some action that would keep him in power. And this is the kind of thing that it'll probably be impossible to prove. This is the kind of thing that, if it's true, would happen with, in conversations that are not recorded, shit like that. So we'll probably never know. It just seems very convenient, though, doesn't it? It seems very convenient that the big day that, the insane right-wingers, the MAGA fucking assholes, MAGA terrorists, have been advertising for months, that was going to be a huge giant protest, and how they were like threatening online and all of this stuff for months now, right? Seems very convenient that there were no fucking cops there in order to, protect this very vital, branch of government, right? From these people who we knew that were going to be there. It seems like they should have been prepared, and they weren't. And when, like I said, Nancy Pelosi asked for, the, National Guard, Donald Trump refused. Why did he refuse? Right? Why did the vice president have to circumvent him in order to get the National Guard out there? These things need to be investigated. Right? We should have congressional hearings on this shit. Find out what the fuck actually happened. Who's responsible. Right? We probably never will. That's the thing. We're probably never going to find out, and it's probably just going to become a conspiracy theory. So, who knows? Who knows? Was it all just incompetence? I mean, that's the most likely answer is yes. The most likely answer is just all incompetence, but kind of doesn't really seem like it, though, doesn't it? Kind of seems like there was a plan. I don't know. I don't want to say one way or the other because it's all speculation, so. Moving on. James Brooks, I saw that video and the one of the dead woman. Both might be on David Pakman's live stream, assuming it's up. Oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, I mean, I saw the one with the dead woman, too. She's fucking dead. I mean, you could see it when they were pulling her out. Her, eyes were open, and there's, blood, and just non-responsive. Yeah, she was fucking dead. That's crazy. Dynacat, Trump is locked out of everything. Good. Good. I hope they ban his ass permanently. From Twitter, from Facebook, from everything. I hope they just remove him completely from all social media for the rest of his life. Because he's lost that fucking privilege as far as I'm concerned. It's dangerous now, because he's inciting violence. I mean, we've seen what fucking happened. He's inciting, he's inciting a fucking insurrection. Right? Armed fucking people at the Capitol building, for crying out loud. They should have done it years ago, like I said. I mean, I guess this is it. I guess that's what finally gets Twitter and Facebook to finally ban somebody like Trump. I don't know. All of the other shit that he did over the last 4 years wasn't enough. It actually took him inciting a fucking riot. This isn't really the first time this isn't the first time he's incited a riot either. Right? I mean, fuck. Moving on. Onward to dystopia. The cops agree with the protests, so they let them in as a way to contribute to the protest. That's a disturbing thought, and probably true. And that's another thing that needs to be investigated. Right. If that's the case, those cops need to be held accountable. And yeah, it'll probably never happen. It probably won't. They're probably going to get away with it completely. I doubt anybody's even going to bring up any questions as to why they just allowed those people to just walk in there. So, who knows? Dynacat, but more than that, with all the advance warning, a lot of people in command positions of several agencies had to be in on it. God, I hope not. I hope not, but you're probably right. I mean, will we ever find out? I highly fucking doubt it. I don't know. I think that really needs to be a focus of something we need to focus on. We really need to put, because now that, the Democrats are going to run all, both branches of Congress, right? They have the power to start investigations now, and especially since people like, people like Bill Barr and all those other guys, they're not in office. They're not going to be in power. So they're not going to have a president that's protecting them anymore. You know what I mean? So it won't be like, oh, well, I can't come to this because the president, for example, every time they try to get Bill Barr, for example, I know Bill Barr's not in office anymore, But every time they tried to get him to like show up for a congressional hearing, he would just say, "Yeah, I have presidential privilege," you know, and he would just ignore subpoenas, right? Well, once you're not in office anymore, once the president is not, is not on your side, you don't have that protection. So now they actually could, once Joe Biden gets in there, puts all of his cabinet, his people in the cabinet, right? Now they actually can, subpoena all these guys. And if they don't show up, they can throw them in prison, right? And they won't have a president protecting them anymore. We have an opportunity now to actually like have some hearings with some teeth and actually fucking find out what really happened. So we need to get on that, man. We need to get on that. We need to like be in contact and putting the thumb screws to our fucking representatives in Congress to fucking like not allow this shit to just go away, not allow this to just fall down the fucking memory hole. Because that'll happen, right? That the minute they take over, they're just going to be like, yeah, we want to look forward and not back, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. No. None of that forward, not back shit. No, we need to actually go back and throw some fucking people in jail. Let's see. Moving on here. Oh, man. I'm fucking tired. I'm sorry, guys. There's a ton of comments. You guys are awesome. Onward to dystopia. The MAGA people aren't a real threat to the system, and they're largely comfortable bourgeois middle class, so of course they don't get the hard treatment. Yeah, they don't. Which is bullshit. But it's always kind of been like that. That's kind of the shitty thing. The right-wingers in general have always kind of had the kid glove treatment, when it comes to things like this, protests, things like this, right? I don't know if you guys remember the Bundy Ranch people back in, I think it was 2014. You remember those guys? Group of armed right-wing protesters go to a federal building in Oregon. Why are all these people in fucking Oregon? I don't know. Go to a federal building in Oregon and just take it over and live there for a month. This is before, this is right before Black Lives Matter became a real thing, This was right around, there was still, Occupy Wall Street protests. This is when Occupy Wall Street was essentially dying out, right around then. And I remember reading this, I'm like, wait a minute, so these armed protesters with guns go into a federal, Land Bureau Management building in Oregon, kick out all the people that are there, and just take up residence there. And I remember reading about it. These guys, they still got their mail, right? They were allowed to leave and come back in, like they would leave, go get food and groceries and shit, come back to the building, and the fucking police would let them go through, right? Shit like that. It's like, no, the minute they left, they should have been arrested. The cops didn't do that. Cops were just like, standing outside, just waiting around, waiting for them to finally leave. They were getting mail. I remember this because they did a live stream where they were opening mail, and people were sending them fucking food and potato chips and shit like that. And I remember it because somebody sent them a box full of dildos. That was funny. To troll these guys, they get a box full of fucking dildos. It's like, how are these assholes getting mail? They're illegally occupying a building. You're not allowed to just, show up at a building with a bunch of guns and just take it over, right? That's not a protest. That's not a peaceful protest, okay? And it should have, and I guess, why? Because they had weapons? So what, the cops didn't want this to turn into a fucking, Ruby Ridge kind of thing, and didn't want to turn into, a fucking massacre? Yeah, okay, I can understand that. Maybe you don't always, react with extreme violence. You don't want it to turn into a David Koresh thing where they all die. But at the same time, while this shit is happening, you don't let them get their fucking mail. You don't let them come and go as they please, right? While it's happening, the guy Bundy that they were doing it for because it was his sons that went, he's like still roaming free. He's going on TV and shit. You know, like I remember he went on TV while the shit was happening and is like pleading for his son's cases or whatever. What the fuck was that? And it was just like, you know, 2 years before this, Occupy Wall Street is getting bulldozed out of like Central Park or whatever, right? You know, and I'm thinking, well, how come these guys, they're just like not doing a goddamn thing? And it's just another example, you know, of the right wing gets away with this shit. Exactly what you said there, you know, they're the bourgeois, right? Onward to dystopia. You're exactly right, you know, and they treat them with kid gloves. They let them fucking, you know, they never come down hard on these fucking guys. And people end up dead. The same shit happened at the Bundy Ranch thing. They ended up having to kill somebody. You know, they shot one of the guys because there was a guy with a gun, wouldn't put the gun away. You know, when they finally got around to clearing these fucking assholes out after like a month, you know, a month of these people illegally occupying this building, they finally cracked down on it, started arresting them. And one of the guys wouldn't go quietly, and they had to shoot him, and it became this big fucking deal. It's like, fuck you people. You know, seriously, if it was a BLM guy, they would have shot him within the first 5 minutes. It's just it's so hypocritical and unfair, really. That's really what it is. I don't know, man. Let's see. Lantern Light. I would really like to get a button that says, I really wish I weren't living through a major historical event right now. Well, you know, every event is a historical event. That's the cool thing about history, is that you don't know what's happening while it's happening, right? This entire year, you know, 2020, very historical year. You know, we had a big election, we had a pandemic, you know, we had lots of stuff happening just here and around the world. Fires in fucking Australia and, you know, stuff like that. And in, you know, disasters around the country, right? And, you know, it's not just all negative. That's the thing. History is, you know, it's not just the bad news that makes the history books. It's the good news too, you know. Maybe this will be seen as the turning point as to when America finally got its shit together. You know, you got to think of it like that, right? Maybe people will finally realize, you know, after we almost lost our fucking democracy, what a precious thing democracy actually is, you know, and what actually really would happen if they were successful, right? Maybe this is a teachable moment that we can, like, use to illustrate to people. I'm seeing that also online too when I'm going on, you know, I'm going on Reddit and I'm going on the conservative parts of Reddit. And more than the people who are justifying it, I'm seeing people who are horrified, saying, hey, I'm conservative, I'm a Trump supporter, but this is too far. We're not supposed to fucking do this. We're Americans. Right? You know, that's a good thing. That's good. It's good that, like, you know, the sane voices in the room outnumber the insane people, right? Those are the people that we need to, like, you know, that we need to be, like, linking up with, right? And yeah, so you don't agree with them on everything. You vote against the things that they want, blah, 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 right? Etc., etc. You know, you work to defeat them in elections, that kind of thing. That's what being an American is all about, is not agreeing with everybody or anyone else, right? That's what makes America great, is that when you get more people on your side, you get to make the rules, right? And it'll turn back. You know, one day it'll turn back. We will have another Republican president one day. We will have them in control of the Senate, blah, blah, blah. And it goes back and forth, and it's like, that's what it's all about. That's what being civically minded and, you know, involved, right, politically involved is all about. It's, you know, getting people to buy into the system so shit like this doesn't happen. You know what I mean? This is the kind of thing you see in countries where people are massively oppressed. But here's the difference, right? You know, the MAGA people are not massively oppressed. They're the ones in charge. All right? That's what we got to remember. Okay? They're in charge. As of this moment right now, they won't be pretty soon. But as of this moment right now, they have the presidency, they have one branch of Congress, they have the majority of state houses, the majority of governors. They're making the rules, right? We're living in a world right now where the conservatives and the MAGA types are the guys in charge. And they're throwing this huge, massive fit like this because they're losing power. Right? And it's like, this is this is the time right now. This is the time where we can like reach out to the sane voices in the room and be like, do you really want to align yourself with these guys? Like Lantern Light, talk to your father. Your father's disgusted by how these people are acting, right? Well, maybe this is a window. You'd be like, hey, do you really want to vote for guys like this? Do you really want to support, like, hey, look at these politicians these guys support. You want to be lumped in with these guys, right? Seriously, this is an opportunity here that we can use this to further liberate the country, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let me just color that in. That doesn't look right. What else we got here? Blah blah blah. Lots of comments, guys. My head hurts. I gotta stop. I'm sorry, but we're at the 2-hour limit. Anyway, hey, thank you. I still see there's a couple of people watching. Thank you for sticking all the way to the end. You guys have some great comments in here, and I'm gonna have to read through them later. Thank you all for joining. I'm gonna go ahead and end this. It's also I gotta work in the morning too, so I gotta end this. But thank you so much, you guys, for joining on such short notice. You're great. Thanks, Raph. Thank you, Louis the Hedgehog. Mr. Yen, good to hear from you again, and I hope that you join me again sometime. In fact, Shan, if you ever want to actually be in the fucking live stream, let me know. If you got a webcam or some shit, we can we can do it together. And that too, you too, and Shoma. You guys never met, but me and Shan Yen go way back. And you guys have never met, but actually, Sean, this guy in Shoma is another guy that I hang out with all the time, so it's cool. Maybe you guys should meet. I think you'd probably hit it off. Let's see. Thank you, Louis the Hedgehog. Thank you, Pentazoid111. And thank you, Onward to Dystopia. And did I get everybody? Thank you, Lantern Light. And Booyah Amadan. You guys are great. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this short and just end it. Usually I go through a big, huge thing where I talk about, all my different social media things and stuff like that. But I'm not going to worry about that right now because my fucking head hurts. I am like, my head hurts and I gotta end this, so let me just do these two. If you want to see more of me and more of what I do, you can check me out on social media. Wrong one. This is my DeviantArt site where I put up artwork and stuff. If you want to see more of my artwork, it's here. So go check that out. If you want to support the channel, I have a SD shop here. This is my SD shop at HwanjaSDshop.com. Hwanja. I'll put a link to it in the bottom. And if you like what I do and you want to support me, please consider buying something. I have these sort of handmade scrolls that I sell. This is a Lovecraft character, for example. I sell prints of these things. People really like them. So if you want to support me and you like what you see on the channel and you like my artwork, consider buying something, please. I appreciate it. And if you want to see me talk about stuff that is non-political, I have another channel called UCD Videos. If you want to see me talk about video games or toys, stuff like that. I do lots of toy unboxings. I do live streams of video games, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you want to see me ramble about stuff that is not politically related, please check me out on UCD Videos. And I think that's pretty much it. No, Discord. I don't have a Discord yet because I don't have enough people. So as soon as I get enough people, I'm going to create a Discord because, if I created one now, there'd just be like nobody on it. um, but I'll put links to all of this stuff in the comments after the stream publishes, so you can check it out. Thank you so much, everybody. I really, really appreciate this. This stream was this was unplanned. I wasn't planning on streaming tonight, so I'm glad that you all joined me. And I most likely will do another one on the weekend. We're probably going to have a lot of shit to talk about on the on the weekend stream as well. But anyway, I am out of here. Adios, everybody. You're awesome. Thank you so much.